For 2 decades, the Demographic International Housing Affordability Report has been a go-to resource for understanding the cost of residential housing in 94 major markets across 8 countries. In the 2024 report, Sydney ranks as the second most unaffordable city. There's a wealth of insightful data in this 20th edition, and today we'll dive into the key findings and try to understand why Australian housing is so much more expensive than in the US. First, let's discuss how housing affordability is measured. The demographic report uses a median price to income ratio, also known as the median multiple. This ratio compares the median house price to the median household income, essentially telling us how many years it would take to buy a median priced house. Housing markets are rated into the 5 categories based on their median multiple, ranging from affordable to impossibly unaffordable. For example, a median of 3 or less is considered affordable, while a median between 5 to 9 is deemed severely unaffordable. The report plots major cities from 8 countries into this rating chart. In the UK, for instance, 2 cities are moderately unaffordable, 12 are seriously unaffordable, and 9 are severely unaffordable. The report also provides a median price to income ratio for each entire country. The least affordable market in 2023 was Hong Kong, with a median price to income ratio of 16.7, followed by Australia at 9.7 and New Zealand at 8.2. Only Hong Kong comes before Australia. Another shocking fact is that no single city in any country is classified as affordable. Singapore is the most affordable market, although 78% of its population lives in public housing. When home prices rise at roughly the same rate as income, more people can afford to buy a home, leading to widespread home ownership. However, when housing costs far outpace income growth, we encounter the housing affordability crisis currently experienced in most high-income nations. In Australia, capital appreciation over the past 25 years equals to an annual growth rate of 6.8% for houses and 5.9% for units. In contrast, the annual wage growth has been about 3.11% over the past 30 years. The cost of homes in the US has also outpaced wage growth over the past decade. According to the Federal Housing Finance Agency, home prices rose 74% from 2010 to 2022, while the average wage increased by only 54% during the same period. From the visual map here, we can see more steep pink across the US in recent years, indicating that home prices have grown much faster than wage growth. When home prices rise faster than wages, the price-to-income ratio increases significantly. In 1987 or 1992, house prices across these 6 nations were more or less 3 times of the household income, meaning housing was considered affordable. Fast forward 30 years to 2019, and this ratio had increased to 4 to 7 times of the household income. By 2023, the year this report is based on, the median house price was 5 to 10 times of the median household income. Here's a chart ranking the least affordable cities globally. Although 5 US cities made it into the top 10, more than half of the sampled US cities have a price-to-income ratio of less than 5. In contrast, all 5 major Australian cities have price-to-income ratios higher than 5. When comparing each nation's most affordable market to its least affordable market, Canada and the US show the biggest gap. Now, let's zoom in on Australia. Australia has a median multiple of 9.7, which has deteriorated from 6.9 in 2019. This means that people looking to buy a house in 2023 will need to work an additional 3 years to afford the same housing. Breaking it down into the 5 major capital cities, 3 cities, Sydney, Melbourne, and Adelaide, are considered impossibly unaffordable. And 2 cities, Brisbane and Perth, are considered severely unaffordable. All 5 of Australia's major cities have been severely unaffordable since the early 2000s or before. Sydney is the least affordable market in Australia, with a median price-to-income ratio of 13.8. This also makes it the world's second least affordable city behind Hong Kong. According to the report, it's not unusual for Sydney to be considered expensive on a global basis, as it has been in the top 3 least affordable cities for 15 of the last 16 years. Melbourne has a median multiple of 9.8, making it the 7th most unaffordable city globally. Even lesser known Adelaide has an impossibly unaffordable median multiple of 9.7. Brisbane has a median multiple of 8.1. Perth has a median multiple of 6.8, ranking 75th in terms of least affordability. The gap between the most affordable and least affordable markets has grown from 2 median multiple points in 1981 to 7 median multiple points in 2023. This increase is equivalent to 5 times the income growth over the same period. Now, let's look at the US. The median multiple in 2023 was 4.8. That's still high, but much better than Australia. The US had 5 impossibly unaffordable markets, 4 of which are located in California. St. John's was the least affordable major US housing market in 2023, with a median multiple of 11.9. LA was the second least affordable in the US with a median multiple of 10.9. San Francisco had a median multiple of 9.7 and San Diego's ratio was 9.5. On the other hand, Pittsburgh is one of the most affordable places in the US with a median multiple of 3.1, making it the most affordable city internationally. Following Pittsburgh are Rochester and St. Louis at 3.4. The gap between the US least affordable and most affordable cities was 8.8 years of median household income in 2023, compared to 1.7 in 1969. This increase is equivalent to 7.1 years of median household income. Why are we experiencing this global housing affordability crisis? More importantly, why has Australia's housing market risen so quickly, making it twice as expensive as US housing? To answer this, we need to go back to economic fundamentals, the supply and demand of housing. Housing prices should remain healthy when supply and demand are in rough equilibrium. Let's start by examining the supply side of the equation. Number 1, urban containment. Over the last half-century, urban containment is an approach to limit the development of land outside a defined urban area to achieve smart growth and control population density. This policy often involves strategies such as green belts, urban growth boundaries, and rural zoning. While well-intentioned, these policies severely restrict the land available for developing middle-income housing in the preferred forms, such as ground-oriented detached, semi-detached, or row houses. These land use policies have artificially constrained the housing supply, leading to dramatically higher house prices. In Australia, the number of residential greenfield lots primarily used to build detached houses favored by middle-income households released for development nationally fell 26% in 2023. Approvals of private dwellings are running more than 20% below their 10-year average, and project abandonment has risen. There remains a backlog of new homes under construction, with 222,000 private residential dwelling units incomplete as of December 2023, around 30% above the pre-COVID average. Townhouses currently take around 1 year and 3 months from approval to completion, while apartments take around 2 years and 5 months to complete. In the US, land use policies are generally more flexible. This flexibility means there's more land available for development, which helps keep prices in check. Number 2, rising costs of construction. In Australia, rising construction costs have been a significant factor behind the limited supply. The cost of building a new home is around 1.4 times higher than in 2019, driven by rising material costs and long-term labor shortages in the residential building sector. Now, let's look at the demand side. Number 1, increasing population growth. Australia's total population increased by 634,000 in 22-23 financial year, a 2.4% rise, the fastest pace in over 50 years. Overseas migration accounted for more than 528,000 of that number. But it's worth noting that 75% of the migrant arrivals were temporary visa holders, such as students, visitors, working holiday makers, or temporarily skilled workers. This high rate of population growth has boosted demand for housing, particularly in the rental markets. Number 2, preference to bigger house for working from home. After COVID-19, there has been an increasing preference for larger houses with an extra room for a home office. The shift to remote work has driven many to seek more spacious homes to accommodate their work-from-home needs. Number 3, a long-term trend of smaller households. Researchers have also identified a long-term trend towards smaller households, suggesting the average household size will remain below pre-COVID levels. What does this mean for housing demand? Based on the ABS estimate of 10.4 million households in June 2023, a 1% decrease in the average household size, or else being equal, would increase the need for housing by over 100,000 dwellings. This trend is reflected in the 38% increase in new shared property listing on the platform Flatmates from the previous year in 2023, with almost half of the new property listing coming from living landlords renting out a spare room. This also indicates how people are coping with rising living costs and high rental prices. Number 4, property investments. Besides home-occupied housing, Australians have a unique love affair with investment properties. The latest data from the ATO reveals that around 20% of Australia's 11.4 million taxpayers owned an investment property in 2021 financial year. More than 30% of the country's private residential dwellings are estimated to be investment properties. Only about 1% of Australian taxpayers own nearly a quarter of all investment properties across the country. Many believe investing in property is an effective way to build wealth, aided by associated tax concessions, including a 50% reduction on your capital gain tax and negative gearing. Negative gearing is a tax rule where losses on a rental property are deductible against personal taxable income. It is an almost uniquely Australian practice. Rental deductions, much of which are due to negative gearing, had cost the federal budget $27 billion for the 23-24 financial year. Well, tax incentives for rental properties are not the sole reason for the current housing affordability crisis, but they are a significant part of the problem. Another factor is the rising interest rate. Historically, low interest rates have made borrowing cheaper, increasing demand for home loans and driving up property prices. Conversely, a higher interest rate environment typically cools down the housing market from the buyer's perspective. However, for large-scale investors and developers, rising interest rates can also constrain their ability to supply new dwellings. Consequently, the number of loan commitments for constructing and purchasing new dwellings is near record lows. In the September quarter of 2023, only 16 projects representing 1,900 units were launched for pre-sales across Australia. This is just 1/3 of the quarterly average between 2018 and 2023. Under the rising interest rate environment, the effect of reduced willingness from customers to buy homes is limited compared to the extent of the shrinking supply of new dwellings by developers. Foreign investment has been a significant source of financing for housing developments as well. Due to changes such as increased fees and stricter restrictions on foreign investment in housing has declined over the past decade. This reduction has further constrained the supply of new housing in Australia. One might think that the sharp rise in house prices will induce more supply as developers see potential profits. However, rising input costs and fixed price contracts have squeezed profit margins over the past 2 years. As a result, some builders have left the industry. The share of builders with negative cash flow increased to 30% from the typical level of 20%, reaching the highest level in over a decade. While many factors contribute to the current Australian housing affordability crisis, the combination of rising interest rate, declining foreign investment, and shrinking profit margins for builders has significantly impacted housing supply and affordability. What do you think are the main causes of the current Australian housing crisis? Leave your comments below. My name is Irene. I'll see you next week. Bye.